Harry, I'm waiting for a sign from you. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the media fraternity. Danquah Institute is happy to outline its official position on the 2022 budget statement and economic policy presented by the Minister of Finance to the Parliament of Ghana on Wednesday, 17th November 2021. So first, I'll give a brief background. His Excellency Nana Addo Danquah Akufo-Addo began his first term of office as the President of the Republic of Ghana on 7th January 2017, and at the time, the economy was growing at 3.4%. 2 years before his assumption of office, Ghana had entered into an IMF extended credit facility arrangement. Among other things, Ghana was tasked to clean its ailing financial sector while putting proactive measures in place to restore the deteriorated fiscal position of the economy. His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo's government was immediately called to action, and it responded promptly by registering a positive primary balance for the first time in 15 years at the end of the 2017 fiscal year. A positive primary balance was again recorded in 2018 and again in 2019 to suggest the government's excellent performance in debt management. By dint of hard work, the Ghanaian economy was growing at 6.5% at the end of the year 2019, which was very impressive. Debt to GDP ratio, which was 57.6% using 2013 constant prices, however, increased to 62.8% at the end of the 2019 fiscal year. Unfortunately, the unforeseen COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the otherwise prudent fiscal management that had been exhibited by the government. Economic growth rate declined to 0.4% in 2020, which has been the lowest since 1983. The government, however, immediately put together a number of programs and projects to help the economy recover immediately from the heavy fall. By the end of 2020, debt to GDP ratio was at 76.1. Fiscal deficit had increased to 11.7% without the financial sector and energy sector related expenditures. Here at the Institute, we are happy to note that the recovery strategies implemented by the government in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic have yielded positive dividends. The economy grew at 3.1% and 3.9% respectively during the first 2 quarters of this year 2021. On the average, therefore, the economy grew at 3.5% during the first half of the year, which is actually higher than the 20% growth rate that the government inherited. Therefore, even though the adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic still remain, the Ghanaian economy is growing faster than it was when the current MPP government took over power in January 2017. Fiscal management. The second term of office of the MPP government started with the challenge of having to pay a gargantuan 35 billion cedis as interest payment. These are interest rates that were paid on loans previously procured by past and present governments, as well as allocating 30 billion Ghana cedis for workers' remuneration. Indeed, as noted by the Honorable Finance Minister, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, while presenting the 2022 budget, interest payments and compensation payments alone at the end of September 2021 amounted to 48.7 billion Ghana cedis, which is 103.3% of total revenue and grants that had been received at the time. In other words, government would have to definitely contract loans to take care of critical expenditure including goods and services and capital expenditure. This condition, where only two expenditures, interest rates and remuneration, consume all revenue, has actually been with Ghana for many years. And here at the Institute, we are very excited that this government has specifically and consistently made efforts to reverse the trend, even with the onset of COVID-19. For instance, as we've already indicated, good fiscal management response, that is controlling expenditure while improving domestic revenue mobilization, recorded a positive primary balance for 3 years in a row, 2017, 2018, and 2019. Even though this feat could not be accomplished in the 2020 fiscal year, and most likely will not also be done in the 2021 fiscal year, projections indicate, and there have been suggestions, that a positive primary balance would also be obtained in the year 2022. We therefore commend the government for their determination to relentlessly reverse over-reliance on debt financing. And now, economic growth. The Ghanaian economy has three sectors, or generally every economy has three sectors, and we will specifically discuss developments that have occurred within each sector. Historically, most economies started with the primary sector, which is the agriculture sector, as the leading contributor to GDP growth. Then, as they developed, the secondary sector, otherwise known as the industrial sector, took over before finally they settled on the tertiary sector, also known as the services sector. Unfortunately, most emerging market economies, including Ghana, have been leapfrogging by changing the baton of leadership in GDP growth. From the primary sector, we went straight away to the tertiary. In other words, the industrial sector of most of these economies receives little or no priority in the development process. Significantly, as a result, unemployment and underemployment have become key features of such economies. Well aware of these developments, the MPP government since 2017 rolled out several policies to revive the primary and secondary sectors to assume their rightful positions in the development of the Ghanaian economy. These policies have contributed in reviving the real sector of the economy. In the primary sector, the agriculture sector consists of the following subsectors: crops, livestock, fishing, forestry, and logging, and cocoa. The entire agriculture sector grew at 4.9% at the first half of the year, compared to the 8.1% growth in 2020. This underperformance of the sector is significantly because of bad rainfall pattern experienced during the early part of the year, from mid-March to June. And this was also at the time when farming was intense in most parts of the southern and the middle zones of the country. We therefore use this opportunity to recommend that the one village, one dam policy is extended across all vegetational zones in the country. Forestry and logging recorded the highest average growth rate of 5.8% during the first half of the year, compared to the negative 8.1% growth rate during the same period last year. Government's efforts to further invest in the afforestation program is highly commendable, as this will have long-term impact on climate change and food production and, of course, food security. And this has attracted global attention in the past few weeks. Additionally, the decision to continue with the planting for food and jobs, planting for exports, rearing for food and jobs, and other policies in the agriculture sector is very welcome. Experts have, however, warned about the potential for global food insecurity, leading to possible food price hikes, largely due to climate change. This, of course, will have dire consequences on countries who are not net producers of food. It is in the light of this that we commend the government for these extremely brilliant and intentional policies that seek to significantly invest in the crops and livestock sector. The supply of improved seeds and fertilizers will directly contribute to ensure that Ghana is food secure. the Danquah Institute recommends that efforts must be put in place to look into assertions on the smuggling of subsidized seeds and fertilizers to neighboring countries. One way we suggest that this can be done is to embark on an aggressive reformation of our farmer-based organizations and strengthening of farmer cooperatives to ensure that the support that we are giving goes to the right people and, of course, at the right time through accountable and transparent established mechanisms. Despite the dwindling global cocoa prices, government has kept faith with cocoa farmers and maintained the cocoa producer price of 2020-2021 crop season in the 2021-2022 crop season. This decision, coupled with the cocoa sector productivity enhancement initiatives, is expected to translate into increased yields, which will improve the country's foreign exchange earnings. Overall, the Danquah Institute would like to encourage our youth especially to embrace these opportunities that the government is making available to Ghanaians in the agricultural value chain. They should get involved and use some of these opportunities to improve on their current and future economic situation. The secondary sector. The secondary or industrial sector is made up of the following subsectors. We can look at water and sewage, electricity, construction, mining and quarrying, and manufacturing. The sector is recovering significantly from the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. It grew at a negative 1.3% during the first half of the year, compared to the negative 3.2% in the same period in 2020. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Danquah Institute is excited to note that the manufacturing subsector grew at 7.2% during the first half of this year, compared to the 2.3% in the same period last year. It is also significant to note that the high positive growth rates achieved by the manufacturing subsector in the last few years, especially this year, did not just come out of the blue. A total of 278 one district, one factory projects in 134 districts are at various stages of implementation, and out of these, 106 of the factories are already operational. The Institute wishes to use this opportunity to urge government to build more factories. Industrialization indeed has never received such attention since the days of His Excellency Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah as it has seen today. It has the potential to create more jobs while deepening government revenue mobilization efforts with an overall aim of reducing the country's dependence on aid. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which commenced on 1st January 2021, of which Ghana is host, provides us a huge platform to boost our industrialization effort. We need an industrialized Ghana and not a Ghana that depends on loans. The mining and quarrying subsector, where oil and gas is located, grew negatively by 11.2% and 18.9% respectively in the first and second quarters of the year, compared to the contraction of 8.8% and 11.6% during the same period last year. The Institute suggests that government begins to take more advantage of the rising global prices after the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. To the tertiary sector. The services sector consists of several subsectors, including education, health, hospitality, trade and information, and technology. The sector has recovered significantly from the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Growing at a rate of 2.3% during the first half of the year in 2020, the sector pulled an impressive growth rate of 7.2% during the first half of the year under review. The information and communication subsector was the highest growing sector, growing at 21%. Indeed, even in the midst of the intensity of the COVID-19 pandemic, the information and communication subsector still grew impressively. This has been the dominant sector employing many of our young Ghanaians. we observe with concern the low level of local stake in the ownership in this subsector. As a result of this, capital flight from the sector has been massive. We recommend that strategies are strengthened and put in place to attract more Ghanaian investors in the sector. We now want to touch on specific sector measures that we have seen very interesting in the 2022 budget. We'll touch on health first. The huge economic burden most countries have had to endure due to the COVID-19 pandemic has been a clear indication to all stakeholders that health is a very critical phenomenon to economic growth. In this regard, the 2022 budget statement has a focus on preventive healthcare measures to curb any recurrent wave of the pandemic, since such a wave will take a heavy toll on the current promising post-COVID economic growth rates already alluded to. The National Vaccination and Deployment Plan that was developed by the Ministry of Health using the core principles of the World Health Organization, Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization, as well as the Comprehensive Strategy and Action Plan for the Local Vaccination Production are very important measures in the fight against COVID-19. The estimated target of 20 million persons earmarked to be vaccinated by the end of this year, together with the extension of vaccination age to include 15 years, will put Ghana in place to achieve herd immunity by the end of 2022. This, of course, will keep our society safe and open for business, and it will boost the economy, thereby putting Ghana on track to reclaiming its enviable position as the fastest growing economy that it was before COVID-19 hit us. Danquah Institute, however, notes with concern that the target of 20 million people being vaccinated by the end of this year is not likely to be met, and we therefore urge government to re-strategize and aim at achieving the herd immunity, which will have a desirable effect. On the front of achieving universal health coverage, the government's focus on expanding access to health care through massive infrastructural projects like the Agenda 111 hospital project is very commendable. Furthermore, the budget provision of a new fleet of 100 ambulances for Ghana Ambulance Service is very important and will improve access to emergency health care. Another highly commendable initiative envisaged in the 2022 budget is the innovative idea of establishing a piloted bed bureau unit at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital to curb what is popularly known as the no-bed syndrome. This innovative policy, when expanded together with the massive infrastructure regime, will make healthcare easily accessible at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels of our economy. The issue of mental health and the associated abuse of mental health patients has been a subject of great concern to various stakeholders. It is thus very refreshing to note that the Ministry of Health has clearly set out an agenda in the 2022 budget to establish what it calls mental health tribunals to protect mental health patients from abuse. We at Danquah Institute are very interested in this initiative, and we will follow up with the ministry as well as with relevant stakeholders to monitor the progress in the implementation of this very laudable initiative. An important issue worth highlighting is the great effort that government has made since coming into power in recruiting the needed healthcare professionals to serve the healthcare needs of Ghanaians. Every now and then, the ministry gets financial clearance to recruit doctors, nurses, and all various categories of allied health professionals. The Ministry of Health has estimated that, so far, His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo's government, since coming into office, has recruited 120,367 different categories of health professionals. This figure represents the highest recruitment of health professionals by any government in the history of our country, and it is indeed very, very commendable. In water and sanitation, the management of our water resources definitely lies at the heart of every well-meaning Ghanaian. Data provided by Ghana Water Company and Community Water and Sanitation Agency, which does not include private or self-supply water, shows that in 2018, 66.64% of Ghanaians had access to drinking water sources. This percentage improved to 68.9% in 2020. The target is that we get to 79.3% in 2024. There are still many people who do not have access to clean drinking water. As such, reports on improvements in the turbidity rate in Pra and Cobra, Birim, and other rivers in specific locations are very welcoming. The wish is that we continue to put more resources in the fight against bad mining practices, especially those that greatly affect our water bodies. It will take time, but if we continue to remain resolute and resilient in this fight, the rewards will definitely be enormous. It is also appreciative and commendable that the budget provides for the Water Resources Commission, and they are being charged to work on more restoration schemes in the buffer zones, such as tree planting, and to restore natural watersheds and to reduce the impact of human activities. We humbly ask that more attention is paid to the kind of encroachment around our wetlands. To name a few in Accra, we want to talk about Peshi and the Sakumono areas. The impunity with which non-law-abiding citizens who have no regard for the natural habitat continue to build in these areas is alarming. We are anxious about how authorities charged with the responsibility of prevention will allow for it to occur before taking steps to firefight the situation. We commend the Regional Minister, Honorable Henry Korte, for the steps he has taken to make Greater Accra work again. Ayiko, we trust that you will succeed. The recent demolition exercise along the Kweshi Lagoon is therefore worth mentioning. But what happens next? Over a long period of time, sand and clay have been deposited along the banks of the lagoon in an attempt to reclaim land from marsh and mangrove, which are essential watersheds that help to contain excess rainfall. So even though the structures along the lagoon have been demolished, the burden of desilting still remains, and if not tackled, it will eventually result in severe floods. Such activities will continue to remain a burden on government expenditure when altogether they could have been avoided from the onset. So though the budget speaks to several desilting works at several stages of completion, we believe that early detection and prevention also needs to be looked at. And this is not just for government, but also for all citizens to build at the rightly designated sites. Linked to this is the evident challenge of sanitation and waste disposal in our country. In 2018, the number of communities that had achieved open defecation-free status was 12%, and this improved to 18% in 2020. The target is 26% in 2024. Proper disposal of solid waste was at 75% in 2018, and it improved to 80%. The target is 85% in 2024, and therefore the construction of more toilets is very, very laudable. Improvements in sewerage, especially in our major cities, Accra and Kumasi, are therefore steps that we must continue to take. Once again, we reiterate the role being played by regulatory agencies who allow the occurrence of waste disposal at the wrong places. And now housing. Two main issues characterize the housing problem in Ghana. In our opinion, these are availability and affordability. As a nation, we continue to struggle to keep up with the demand for decent accommodation. We are glad that the government under the Ministry of Finance is considering options to complete the Saglemi project despite the increased cost of its execution. The more we build, the higher the likelihood that we can drive prices down. We are also glad that government is looking into more affordable ways of construction and mortgage financing to improve levels of affordability. With a new land policy in place, we are looking to a future of less land disputes, which should also encourage more people to invest in housing and real estate generally. In the transport sector, we note that a well-developed and efficient transport network has both tangible and intangible benefits. Fortunately for us, the 2022 budget shows a clear and strategic path to creating such a network for Ghana. By touching on the rehabilitation of old roads, construction of strategic interchanges in various parts of the country, and with the support for private-public partnerships for financing and the management of road infrastructure, government continues to show serious commitment to developing Ghana's road network. The comprehensive improvement in the rail sector is also an evident indication of the drive to provide a well-linked transportation network. We are especially happy to see the building of local capacity to maintain our rail system. The Ghana-Burkina Faso rail project, for instance, is very significant since it will not only improve the trade relations between the two neighboring countries, but will also reduce the pressure on roads from the constant haulage of goods through Tema Port to Burkina Faso. We believe that to further reduce the constant burden of rehabilitation, it is important that government also invest in more efficient systems at checkpoints to ensure that the correct weight is being carried in the trucks that ply our roads on a daily basis. This is imperative, and the Danquah Institute sees it as an urgent matter that needs to be looked into. Besides, it would also reduce the amount or the percentage of carnage and road accidents that we see on our roads. In addition, a rail network efficiently would complement the growth of our mineral and natural resource sector. So with the expansion and modernization of port facilities added to road and a good rail network, Ghana has obtained an even more competitive edge in the sub-region. In the mining sector, most significantly, in the 2022 budget, we see highlights on the National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program. This is very timely. The devastating effect of the Galamsey activities necessitated the ban, which led to job losses for some artisanal miners and others who were engaged in related activities in the sector. The ban on the informal industry of artisanal and small-scale gold mining therefore has had rippling effects in a lot of areas. Government is not lost and is concerned. Estimates are that the program, NALEP, will bring a total of 346,300 direct and indirect jobs through various modules and schemes, such as the community mining, national land reclamation and afforestation, agriculture and agro-processing, skills and apprenticeship training, amongst others. NALEP also presents a good opportunity to again reduce the unemployment gap and to provide alternative livelihoods and improvement in the living conditions of many people who have been affected. This will indirectly reduce the social impact, such as criminal activities, in the larger sense, while contributing to the quality of life, improved and cleaner environment, amongst others. We therefore commend the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources originators of this great initiative for the program. We believe that existing mechanisms should be strengthened to ensure the success and desired impact of the program. There should be staunch commitment to realistic targets and a clear and well-defined monitoring and evaluation system to examine the impact of the project in the medium to long-term period for continuous improvement and sustainability in the mining sector. Youth employment and skills challenge. Inasmuch as COVID-19 has set back most economies around the world, and Ghana is no exception, His Excellency, the President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo's led government, has recognized that job creation, restoring macro-physical balance, energizing all sectors, reforming the business environment, and restructuring the financial sector are key to putting the economy of Ghana back on track for prosperity for everyone. It has therefore embarked on an ambitious and transformative flagship program to drive economic growth and improve the livelihood of all Ghanaians, and not just a selected few. The Ghana Cares Obatampa program, NAPCO, National Afforestation Program are all examples of this amazing and interesting programs being embarked on. And they have all created significant job opportunities for youth and for medium and small-scale enterprises. Through these innovative programs, hundreds of thousands of jobs have been created, with over 35,000 young people having secured permanent jobs or acquiring relevant workplace skills and experience. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, we here at Danquah Institute would like to emphatically commend the government for taking time to understand the youth employment challenge, embarking on extensive consultation with stakeholders, including youth associations and educational institutions across the country, and developing the phenomenal Youth Start initiative as a key vehicle to create 1 million jobs in 3 years under the Ghana Cares program. This initiative, which is set to be operational in March 2022, we believe is holistic and will provide some of the permanent solutions to youth unemployment being faced in the country over successive years and under successive governments. The Youth Start initiative is the vehicle for supporting young entrepreneurs to gain access to capital, training, technical skills, and mentoring to enable them launch and operate their own businesses. In time, the youth who were hitherto members of the Unemployed Graduates Association will soon become employers who will in turn employ other youth. Through the Youth Start initiative, entrepreneurs can apply for support through dedicated Youth Start online portal. After successful application, the youth can access skills training and development, entrepreneurial support and business advisory services, competitive credit starter packs, mentoring and access to markets, including portals to facilitate digital linkages between youth-led enterprises and other businesses and relevant government agencies. They will also be eligible for soft loans up to 50,000 Ghana cedis to help startups and to encourage small businesses to expand. They will also be entitled to starter packs for equipment acquisition for up to 50,000 for individuals and 100,000 for associations and groups. They would also can access a standardized loan package between 100,000 and 400,000 Ghana cedis at concessional rates for small, medium-scale enterprises from various financial institutions. Without a doubt, this Youth Start initiative will tackle youth employment from its roots and help us to stop or to prevent this perennial problem of teeming youth who graduate from school and have to start to cut their CVs around looking for almost non-existent jobs. This is a clear indication of the government's commitment to secure the future of the youth by creating a robust financing ecosystem capable of supporting businesses from early to mature stage. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, Danquah Institute wishes to encourage the youth to take advantage of these many initiatives outlined, some of which have already started being implemented. And now, moving forward. With regards to the implementation of the 2022 budget, the Institute especially endorses the following action plans. It is the belief of Danquah Institute that the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda will change our narrative as a country. As part of this agenda, more factories will be built to create jobs for the youth. Technical and vocational education will be deepened to provide the needed human capital for the industrialization drive. A stronger macroeconomic environment is already being built. Among other things, the city has been performing relatively better than it has over the years. Cost of credit is now far lower than it was in 2016, with our policy rate declining from 25.5% in December 2016 to 13.5% now. Gross international reserve has increased from 2.8 a month import to cover now to 4.9% import cover. Inflation has also declined from 15.4% in 2016 to now 11%. With a strong macroeconomic foundation, local production is set to increase, to involve more Ghanaians in production, to widen the tax net, and to reduce imports and rather increase exports so that our cedi becomes even stronger. Government's efforts in digitizing the economy will surely enhance domestic revenue mobilization. To the very least, it will promote efficiency in revenue collection while reducing corruption associated with such activities. The Institute fully supports the digitization and digitalization efforts of the government. The Institute recommends frequent engagement with the general public to ensure that the progress is smooth. Government's determination through the Ghana Revenue Authority to assist our metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies to implement a common platform for property rate administration to enhance property rate collections and its accountability is also highly commendable. This will undoubtedly increase revenue mobilization for our MMDAs and to release resources for the provision of basic infrastructure. Danquah Institute, however, suggests that a mechanism is designed to make sure landlords and landladies who rent out rooms pay tax on the income received. Building for renting has become a booming business, especially in our major cities such as Accra and Kumasi. Millions of Ghana cedis continues to exchange hands through renting out of rooms consistently in Ghana. Unfortunately, owners of the houses go to tenants to collect rent directly without paying anything to the government. The Institute urges government to set up rent control agencies, if possible, in all major cities to be in charge of renting. In other words, owners of rooms or houses will have to register with these agencies, whilst those who need rooms will then go there to make payments for their choice. We are hopeful that through this initiative, rent payments could be taxed, and government could start this project by first engaging comprehensively all stakeholders. The introduction of the e-levy. The introduction of a levy on all electronic transactions to widen the tax net and rope in the informal sector is a commendable initiative. The phenomenal growth and resilience that occurred in this sector, we looked at communications alone, we said 21%, even during or in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, is worth noting. From the projections made, government is looking to make 6.9 billion Ghana cedis from electronic transactions levy in 2022 alone. Comparing this figure with what the government is projected to get as import duty on all import projected to come in the country, 9 billion cedis, that is levies on all imports that will come into the country, we can see that the e-levy is a powerful means for government to raise revenue. The levy, therefore, provides a broad-based platform for government to increase its needed revenue. In essence, the e-levy is a transactional tax, but it is an extra commission that is being charged, and this time it won't be going to enrich the service provider. It will go into government coffers to support the drive for entrepreneurship, to pay for our roads and the other huge developmental projects that we want to embark on. And that has been earmarked to do. So from a revenue generation perspective, this e-levy is a powerful tax-raising handle, and government should be able to comprehensively implement it for that purpose. The Institute also commends the government for taking a look at the e-levy and making it pro-poor, that is, exempting those whose daily transactions do not exceed 100 cedis or 3,000 Ghana cedis a month, and further suggests that further prospective taxpayers could also be categorized into 4 groups, each group being made to pay a different percentage in accordance with the amounts that they are transacting. For instance, Level 1 will pay a certain percentage for those whose daily transaction ranges from above 100 Ghana cedis to 300 Ghana cedis. Then we could go to Level 2, that will pay a higher percentage for transactions that range between 300 and 500. Then Level 3 from 500 to 1,000. This is our suggestion. And that should definitely be done with a lot of research and comprehensive stakeholder engagement. So we note carefully that the e-levy in its current form may actually risk people engaging in more cash transactions. Lessons from other countries has shown that places that attempted or did introduce such levies, although the percentages of the levies in those countries was in excess of the proposed 1.7% that we have in our budget, definitely the amount of cash transactions increased. For instance, it was realized in Uganda that the patronage of mobile money transactions fell drastically when the idea of taxing mobile money transactions was mooted. In Tanzania, there is evidence to suggest that the idea to tax mobile money transactions did not go well in terms of revenue generation. There's also a similar experience in Kenya. Therefore, we recommend that government holds broad-based consultation with a myriad of stakeholders so as to make the levy acceptable to the populace. We need to remember, for instance, that when the VAT on financial services was first introduced, it was suspended and it wasn't immediately implemented. It actually took over a year or two for government, with a lot of consultation, before coming out with an indicative list of fee-based financial services. There was extensive consultation. The proposition has been made. Let us not just leave it to lie. Let us rather come together and make it work. In conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to make a famous quote from J.B. Danquah, in whose honor I stand today. In August 1950, J.B. Danquah said, and I quote, "Where is our national vision? Why do we not think twice before we attack someone for thinking ahead of the many in the interest of the nation? For it is said in the Bible that where there is no vision, people perish. Our country is to be pitied, for unless we act with the vision of noble statesmen, that Bible prophecy may make us gnash our teeth one day. Therefore, the Institute humbly calls on all Ghanaians to support the budget agenda constructively. Such an opportune moment to disentangle the economy from dependence on aid must not be allowed to slip by. The Institute also urges government to continue to deepen the current efforts in transforming our economy. God bless our homeland Ghana and continue to make it great and strong. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.